American censorship, I mean, this isn't anything new, but like George Lucas has told a story about how, he was so jealous of like Soviet filmmakers and the freedom they had to experiment, because America has like a corporate censorship that has to do with like, even if nobody's telling you what it is that can't be done, what can't be done is anything that jeopardizes the bottom line. And, now that we no longer have like a star system in which like actors and, individuals can hold an enormous amount of power.
But I do like movies. I love movies. And I know a lot of movies aren't popular. And you can say that going in. One of the reasons I retired is so I could make movies that aren't popular. Because in the world we live in the system we've created for ourselves in terms of it's a big industry, you cannot lose money.
Yeah,
exactly.
So the point is that you're forced to make a particular kind of movie. And I used to say this all the time when people, back when Russia was the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. And they'd say, oh, but aren't you so glad that you're in America? I said, well, I know a lot of Russian filmmakers. They have a lot more freedom than I have. All they have to do is be careful about criticizing the government. Otherwise, they can do anything they want.
Someone is just like, who's this? Dog. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Oh, open the schools. Open the schools.
That is George Lucas, the man responsible for Star Wars.
I want to see the next message after this. I want to see when they Google George Lucas.
Who literally is responsible for Star Wars. And also openly said
Indiana
that he
Jones.
openly said he tailored the good guys in Star Wars off of the Viet Cong. Yes, sure, he stole a bit from Dune. Fair, okay. I don't disagree with you there. But like Star Wars, a franchise is become this like explosive thing because of George Lucas's vision originally. And I say this as someone who's not the biggest Star Wars fan in general. But to say who's George Lucas is crazy. It's like saying who's Walt Disney.
I'm a Trekkie. Bro, that's even worse. If you know enough enough about like science fiction, like TV culture to call yourself a Trekkie, that you don't know who George, like, bad.
Yeah.
I do think though that like this point that he's making though is like in America, related to what I was saying a minute ago. In America, you can't make certain things if like the way that our censorship is enacted is that like you have to imagine like what won't jeopardize the bottom line. And like, sometimes it's like like obviously on an aesthetic level or an artistic level, it's about the costs that you may want to incur for how to portray something. But obviously what we're all thinking about is like all of the subjects that you're just not allowed to depict or talk about.
Bro, it's literally it's manufacturing consent. That's what like the filters that exist in media that are not imposed upon people directly, but instead like self-imposed. That's what he is describing here. It's the profit motive being the most successful mechanism for censorship or self-censorship rather. That's it. That's what he's describing. Whereas like if you look at arts, if you look at movies as a part of like an arts program that is government funded, that has only one primary interest, which is to let people's creative freedoms go wild and have people express themselves, then you have technically more liberties. Then you can take more liberties with whatever vision you have.
You have to adhere to a very narrow line of commercialism. And there's only certain, look, when I started in the 70s, it was like this. I could say Russia was like this, but we were like this. You could do a certain kind of movie. And I flaunted that system. I mean, THX, my first film, is definitely not an American film, and I shoved it in sideways. And Francis helped me trick the studio.
Yeah, right.
They would have never let me make that movie if they knew what I was doing.
Yeah, and as we've said, the original trilogy of the Star Wars that George Lucas created, he specifically designed it around asymmetric warfare between the Viet Cong and the imperialist forces. The Empire was America.
I would also add that like a big piece of this though was that like the situation has just degraded so substantially though in the last like 50 years. I would argue that like we just have like very little concrete and direct like social commentary at high level cinema anymore. Like mass entertainment products that engage in direct political commentary for the most part are like right-wing slop like bullshit. Like it's like Jack Ryan style stuff. And that, if you get something else by, it's not something, you know, like it's comparatively exceptional. Like
people,
obviously there are TV shows.
People
like,
get mad at me,
like Snowfall or something.
I think Andor is a great example of this.
Yes, Andor, obviously.
Andor is great. I think it's fucking awesome. I don't care. You can say I'm a slop consumer or whatever. Oh, it's Star Wars, but like Andor is great. It's great. It does that directly. I think it's one of the few like big budget productions that we have right now that literally is pro Hamas. Like, I don't know. It's funny because people will be like, no, that's not the case or whatever. But like, it is. It's just straight up showing you exactly how by never really like directly saying it, but it's showing you how like resistance forms and how the empire will do false flag operations and things of that nature and manufacture consent and try to belittle resistance movements and destroy them and engage in psyops and things of that nature. It explains perfectly how and why revolution forms when there is an imperial interest in extracting natural resources. Superman is pro Hamas. Superman at that level is the most like fuck Israel you're gonna get, you know?
Although I haven't seen the new Superman, but I really do wonder how much of this is just that it's like it's really hard to tell stories that use like really conventional like morality about like who's a good guy, who's a bad guy, what makes a good guy good, what makes a bad guy bad. And if it has like any resemblance in the slightest to stuff going on in the world, like, oh, a bunch of kids are being subjugated, like, oh, a big bad military is beating up on some natives.
No,
like,
no, they take a very black and white approach to it. But the black and white approach to it that they take literally revolves around like a private defense contractor cutting side deals with Israel so that they can inevitably parse the land of this Jamanpur, which is like a substitute for Palestine. Like, so it is direct in that regard, where it's like a very important American defense, like military industrial complex company is literally funneling weapons to Boravia, Israel for free so that they can in return take some of the land of Palestine. It's like, it's blunt, it's on the nose. It's not like there is no like there's no fanfare around it. It's not subtle at all. It gets the message across, I think.